stuff and technology. It's amazing. I mean, you guys are probably doing this all the time right now, right? Like in terms of, I guess, is this what you guys have kind of been going through the last year is probably doing, Zoom meetings to get the show together and, in terms of technical and all that other good stuff?
Yeah, it's been a wild and weird process.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it wasn't that bad. I mean, from the beginning, it was just Teddy and I writing.
Right.
So that, I mean, we've,
So how long you guys been writing together? Like how long have you guys known each other?
7, 8 years, maybe.
Wow.
Well, it's like time in the last year. It's a construct now.
Yes.
So it's a hard answer to give you.
That's right. Yeah. Who knows what day it is? But I mean, they say as long as you're having fun, time flies. But it's like, there's only so much fun you can have,
Locked in your house.
Yeah. Locked in your house with nowhere to go. Yeah. There's only so much you could do there. But yeah, you guys have been working together for 7 years. Where did you guys first meet? Were you guys in school or?
No, we both worked for Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg.
Oh, okay.
And so I was their first assistant, and then Teddy was their second assistant.
Okay.
And then they kind of introduced us, and they were like, "Oh, I think you guys could write really well together." So we started writing, and then we sold our first script with them.
That's awesome. Congratulations on it. And what was that? What were you guys? What were some of the things you guys worked on?
We worked on. It was a script that was like really. It was like really close to getting made at Sony around the time of the movie The Interview.
Oh, that's right. And they had the hack.
Yeah. So we were like
looking at collateral damage.
If you want to do a deep dive into emails, we were like the discussion of the next movie after The Interview.
Oh, geez.
Never gonna make it, Tony. So that didn't go great.
Sure.
But then we sort of like got back with them. We worked on their show Future Man, which was cool.
Awesome.
And then we just finished staffing on another show of theirs that's shooting in the spring, which is about like the Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee sex tape, which is
okay
show. Yeah, which
that's awesome. And then of course in the midst of all this, you guys create a new 6-episode animated series, right? I think it's 6 episodes starting on Wednesday, St. Patrick's Day. It's all about, it's called The Poll. And just watching the first couple episodes, it's hilarious. It's really almost like, it's almost like The Office, like an anime take on The Office, but like with Santa and yells. Like it's a workplace comedy type of a thing.
Yeah, that's like, it's so funny hearing it pitched out like a show on the North Pole that's coming out on St. Patrick's Day. Yeah, like you really hit it on the head. Like for us, like what we started talking about. I mean, we've literally been developing the shows since like 2014, 15.
Oh wow!
And like we always came back to this idea of like examining the North Pole like every day other than Christmas, and it's like every single Christmas show that you see is like a massive buildup to like getting the toys done on Christmas Eve or whatever. But our show like just shows Christmas Eve in the pilot, and then we're like never even close to returning to Christmas. And I think that like one of the things we'll toy with as we get into more seasons, hopefully, is like potentially never ever having a Christmas episode until maybe the last episode of the show. So like it is, I think that that's something that we've really, it's been cool to explore because like it very quickly for us also like kind of revealed parallels between America and like the way that people think about like what it means to like what the criteria is to like receive a gift and all that means. There's pretty clear analogs to like the divide in our
mass consumption, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's awesome. And so I mean it's such a simple premise, and you would think nobody else. You're right. There's been so much Christmas, and you know, in this, and it's interesting where you guys kind of kick it off where, okay, it's every single day after Christmas, and then everyone like Santa's just in shorts. Like who would think like you would think North Pole would be too cold to just wear shorts, but he's wearing shorts.
He runs hot. You know?
Yeah. Oh, and I get it. He's a big guy. I'm a big guy, so I get where he's coming from. So I'm taking his side on this. But and then you guys happen to amass like an awesome cast for this show too. Like I mean, Bobby Moynihan and Jillian Bell, and I mean Sungwoo Cho. We just interviewed him a couple months ago. He's an awesome guy.
He's the best, by the way.
Yeah. He's one of those actors that does like can do 1,000 voices. Like he really is an under the radar superstar. But I mean, he really does have a huge online fan base too. So
also I sent him a couple emails where I've been like sending these like incredibly effusive like thank you notes to him because he just like crushed it, especially later in the season. And he just responds being like, "Cool, man."
Yeah, we'll send him like a 4-paragraph email as to why he's the greatest voice actor of our generation. We get back like a 1-word response.
Yo, thanks.
Nice.
He doesn't have time for us, man. He's too fucking cool.
And you know what? He's probably working because he works. Like he just goes and I don't think he takes breaks. Like and if he's not working on somebody else's stuff, he's working on his own stuff, like, you know, putting his brand out there. And he's got like, you know, he just does like his own YouTube clips and stuff like that.
I think that he honestly can also, like, I feel like he'll also, like, obviously he'll continue to have like an incredible voice career, but I think he'll also like find a niche on like a comedy live action too, where like he can, because he's physical acting is pretty awesome too.
Yeah.
Like a lot of his stuff on like, that's when we kind of like, I mean, obviously his reel was super impressive to us, but we also watched like a lot of his like short videos that he has on his YouTube page, and they're like all so funny and silly. And like, he like so clearly like got the tone we were going for in his other work. So yeah, it was cool working with him.
And it just seems like you had like everybody. I mean, Bobby Moynihan, you know, is just as good as anybody, you know, in the voice acting world too. He's always doing stuff too. So just to get him, you know, pretty awesome.
We were thrilled to get him. Like we you know, like from We Bear Bears, and we saw his that what's that? Fucking Lofi. Yeah.
That's right. Also, Lofi. That's right, on Comedy Central. I do remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that movie Sisters, but he also is able to be hilarious on cocaine.
Yes.
And
that was like a big thing for us. Is like who can make, I mean, you know, there's a dark side to the drug and we play it for comedy. So it's like who has the ability to do that? When we saw him in Sisters, we're like, that guy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so I mean the poll, it's all. So did you guys always know it was going to be an animated series? Were there any thoughts of making it live action? And you guys have worked in both worlds, so I wonder if it would be just as easy for you guys to go back and forth. And then, you know, what made the decision to say, hey, you know, let's just go animated? And please tell me it wasn't COVID that was like, hey, let's make it animated.
It was in our very first meeting ever. Like, you know, we were like tossing around ideas, and we were with Mark Gordon, who's one of the producers on it. And he was one of the producers on the Politician script of ours. So that's kind of how we got in touch with him. And he was like, you know, married with children at the North Pole, you know, Al Bundy type with Santa Claus, but Santa Claus fucks elves.
Yeah.
And we're like, that's funny. Let's make it animation and make it even crazier.
Yeah.
And then we just started going down, developing it as an animation show. And we kind of got lucky that, you know, as TZGZ came about and this project got picked up, like there was not a better time to go into animation than COVID.
Yeah. And it's just exploding right now. Adult animation as like an industry. Everybody's coming through and doing stuff, and every network's doing stuff. And I mean, it's been amazing. Syfy has been a big champion of that. They've been finding a lot of, you know, obviously you guys are a little more established, but you know, before you guys, there are a lot of up and comers that maybe people really didn't get to know before, and probably wouldn't really had a lot of, choices to put those series, because even like the quarter hour stuff, you don't really see quarter hour stuff on streaming services. It's not really a thing. You see, it's got to work on like TV or online, and there's a really only, and I'm by online I mean like a YouTube type thing.
Yeah, I
So
mean, we're like curious to see how the show does, because like we really like tried to offer a new like path for short form and like make it incredibly complicated and serialized. Like
sure.
it's like I'm curious to know if that's gonna work. I mean, I feel like we did execute like the show that we wanted, which has made us like really excited as we like wrap up our last couple of episodes.
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting medium, because like you really have to be incredibly economical with your storytelling, and like because we were sort of carrying like I mean, at times A, B, and C plots in our episodes in like 12 minutes. It was like joke, like plot of the scene, like new scene, and it was kind of like we had to be disciplined in our writing, and especially in the edit too. But like it's kind of fun. Like there's no room for like to like mess around.
Yeah, because you only get the 12 minutes, right? So I mean, it'd be one thing maybe if you had the 22. Maybe you get a little more breathing room, but you're right. With the quarter hour, you gotta.
Well, and what's crazy is, like we modeled a lot of the show on, Game of Thrones, Succession, like that kind of just like long form drama. Everyone wants the suit, like that kind of idea. And there's a reason why Game of Thrones is an hour an episode. There's a reason why Succession is an hour. Like you need time to build drama. Like even just like in a scene, you need time to build drama, and we didn't have that. But I do think we were able to pull it off, and I hope the audience agrees.
I think that what just build on what Bass was saying. Like I think that there's such a like language for these kind of shows now between like Succession and like Game of Thrones, that like we were able to sort of like accelerate the moves of our characters like in a way that maybe would take like would have required like far more episodes or like time a few years ago. But I think like there's an expectation, especially like when set in the North Pole too, that you can kind of like just accelerate like people backstabbing and stuff.
And how did you know how you wanted the show to look, and like the animation style and the aesthetic? Like what were you guys going for, and what were some of your like I guess your initial inspirations for what aesthetic you wanted to pull through?
Initially, the conversations were we kind of wanted it to be fairly simple. Kind of harkening back to like the Christmas specials of our childhood. So Charlie Brown,
sure,
Babar, Dr. Seuss. Obviously, there's a lot of like Grinch and Susie and stuff like in the set design.
You can't even say Seuss now, so his name has been.
Nostalgic.
Yeah. But yeah, so you guys, I guess, yeah, I definitely do see almost like an old school Christmas book, type of a feel, like you used to read as a kid, like in terms of like like the backgrounds and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, and then what about the look of the characters? How did you know how big to make Santa? How did you know how small to make the elves and everything?
I think that what we were trying to do is like create like a juxtaposition between the content and like the familiar visuality of like Christmas stories. So I think in many ways like we kind of like pushed our animators to be like the cuter the better, and we want it to really look poppy and like glossy, because I think also that helps with the sort of like overall metaphor of our show in terms of like the relationship with like the presentation of America and like how like commercial Christmas seems, but like what really is going on. So I think that like those elements like were really important to us, because I think that like we want, and also like for Santa Claus in particular, like he and Bobby exudes this like naturally, like there's such a sweetness to like who he is really, that we didn't want him to be like like sort of like hungover looking or like too much of a mess. Like we want to lead with like his true characteristic, which is like jolliness and sweetness, in spite of his like fumblings, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely was like the direction we push our animators, and like our artists who built the world. This guy named Greg Huckaluk, like he was just incredible. Like we would like give him like feedback, and then he would come back like the next day with like options, and it was an incredible experience working with them, and also with our animation studio Yeti Farm. Like they really just like helped us like build the world, because this was our first time in animation doing like our own thing. So we really were lucky to have like pretty supportive partners with that.
And when you're in the voice booth with all, you know, obviously with all the incredible cast you have, how much leeway do you give them to kind of improvise a little bit, and where do you have to kind of, I mean, obviously it's cartoons, but I mean, where do you let them go in terms of?
A lot, man. We gave them a lot of leeway because they're fucking fun. They're all so funny. Like,
yeah.
So, I mean, especially Colin, like we write with Colin sometimes. So we like, and our goal when we write with Colin is to like get him to like in a comfortable situation where he can just like make our shitty writing funny. That's kind of like what we did with this show too. Like he got into the booth and just like, we're like, this is the general area. Like this is where we need to hit with the, like, we kind of got the scripted stuff. And then like, once we had like clean takes of like what we needed for a plot, we just let him go, and he was amazing. And same with Bobby, and same with Jillian. And honestly, same with Nicole and Sheer. Yeah. And
everybody, Tim, literally everyone.
Too. Yeah.
We just like, we told them, we're like, if you have any ideas, if you want to like riff, like just like go ahead. You know, we did the scripted stuff as Teddy said. We would go into the booth with like a page of alts for, you know, each line kind of, and then they would just go crazy. It was awesome. And when you say go into the recording booth, I should clarify that for a lot of them, it was their closet.
Yes. That's right. So so it is an animated series. And did you guys have any fun with like background gags and all that type of stuff? And would you let the actual animators kind of go crazy too? Because that's kind of where they get to kind of script a little bit, you know, in terms of script without saying any words, sort of a thing. So how loose did you let them go, and were there some things that even caught you guys by surprise in terms of what they brought you?
I think we kind of like gave them like a general suggestion of trying to like Easter egg like Christmas iconography in the show, and they did a really cool job of that. I mean, again, like, not to go back to the Grinch, but like one of our villain in the show, like as he becomes more evil, his like Grinch smile becomes more Grinch-like. And then like we also dropped like some references to Charlie Brown Christmas, which was a huge influence on us artistically at a few moments. And like, yeah, I mean, there is such specificity to the world that they built. That it's like, we just feel sort of lucky, you know, like I feel like they really just like understood kind of like what we were going for tonally, and like really built this world that was sort of like on the surface, very glossy and poppy. And then underneath, like there's just like so much turmoil and discord, like bubbling beneath the surface. So they got that in a way that we feel like grateful for them.
And in terms of scripting, were you focusing, you know, how do you balance out, okay, Santa is kind of the most well-known, you know, Christmas character, and then also kind of, I mean, people know who the elves are, but they don't, in your instance, it's like they all have different personalities. So how do you balance that in terms of, and again, we just talked about this being a quarter-hour show. How do you balance like introducing, you know, these new personalities to a familiar premise, so to speak?
I mean, part of it came just like, honestly, like just like from the cast. Like once we, you know, we had a sense of like Matilda, who's the head elf.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a sense of like she was going to be, it was her job to keep Nick, who was never focused. So we knew like that was kind of her personality. But once we casted Nicole in that role, then we were able to like really write for Matilda.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, like for some of the other elves like Len and Sven, who kind of go on their own journey, it was weird. Like it was like the very first scene. I mean, it still is the first scene in the opening of the show,
Mm-hmm.
which is the very first scene we ever wrote in, you know, like 5-6 years ago. And we always just held on to this idea of like introducing two elves who are just completely drunk, completely stoned, walking out of a strip club. So that for us, like that was the introduction to the world. Like this is not your mother's Christmas special, you know? And with those two elves in particular, like as we were writing each episode, it was like, oh, it'd be funny if they did this. It'd be funny if they did this. And then, you know, when we look back at the whole season, like those two guys go on this like wild journey of just like growth and like spirituality in a weird way. So it was just like in the writing, it just kind of came. And same with like that character Mac. Like we turned the script over to Tim when we casted him, and we were like, is there anybody else you want to play? And he was like, oh, like this one character who has one line in the pilot, I'll do him. And then we were like, well, that's really funny. Now we have to write this character in multiple episodes.
I think also like it became like once we sort of like locked into this idea that like the elves who believe that naughty kids should get gifts are like one side of the ideology, and like the elves or the elves who believe that every kid should get a gift is one side and only nice is the other side. Like we were able to like funnel our characterizations like through that like metric in a way. So it's like if the character believes this, if they're on one side, and if they believe that the opposite, they're on the other, and that kind of like organically builds the plot over the course of the season, like as like things really like hit ahead on the North Pole, like in episodes like 4 and 5 and 6.
And so you guys alluded to earlier wanting to do multiple seasons. Where do you see the some of those ideas going in terms of your characters? What are some areas that you guys have maybe uncovered during writing process where you're like, you know what, I really want to kind of dig around here a little more in the next couple seasons if given the opportunity?
I think that like one of the things that we had to like leave on the table because of the short form was like we had built out like a pretty complex black market economy for the North Pole, and then also like the above board economy. And I think that's something that we really want to get into, almost like the Wire style in season 2. And then there's also an opportunity, I think, to time jump a little and like do and like sort of take snapshots of American politics in different eras, like through what Christmas looked like then. Like we've joked around about like setting the entire second season in the 60s and like seeing what that looks like. But we definitely need people to like become obsessed with the show first so we can get it picked up. so thanks for
one of the early ideas we had, and we tried, but it just like it kept on having to be pushed aside, is having like a human discovered the entrance to the magical North Pole.
Mm-hmm.
And then we like discussed the idea of like, if somebody did stumble upon this, what do you do with this person?
Yeah.
Do you kill him?
Yeah.
Do you like, is he a prisoner? Like, so I think that's definitely something also we would love to get into in seasons 2 and 3.
Courtroom drama in season 2.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. I know you guys got a heart out. So thanks so much for coming on and talking to us. And we're really looking forward to new series, The Pole, premiering St. Patrick's Day. And we're excited to see it. And we hope to be talking to you guys soon again about seasons 2 and 3, and you know, maybe maybe you guys got your taste of animation now. Maybe you'll do a little more of it. So you know, maybe save it for the next pandemic.
Dude, thank you very much. It was very nice talking to you.
Yes. All right, guys. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Peace, dude.
All right.